Hey folks, it's Phoebe with Shrubsteppe Blooms. This is a compilation of just odd jobs that I'm trying to get done. We're going to start with labeling the dahlias, which is going to be a really fun endeavor. So you're going to see me wandering that way in a time lapse, hopefully is how that works out. And then I need to collect a few seeds from a couple varieties of marigolds that I want to save, and I need to pick some dried flowers. So we are right now looking at, we'll pick some flowers to dry, to be more clear. We're looking at the dahlia row. This first section here is all named varieties that I bought. There's a big chunk down there that's varieties I started from seed that I'm not going to save most of, but I need to label a couple that I know I want to save, and then there's more named varieties down towards the end. So let's hop to. This is about as much fun as it looks. It's a lot of kneeling and scrambling around on the ground, shoving your face into plants that are starting to have mildew and potentially, bugs and spiders and those kinds of fun things, which I try not to think too much about while I'm doing it. Finding the tag that was put in there when I planted everything in the spring, and then fixing a piece of flagging with the label on it to the actual plant itself, because I will be going through and once we have a good frost, cutting everything down, and at that point there won't be flowers anymore to tell, which variety it is. So I'm trying to get a little ahead of the curve this year and get it done. And I kind of labeled a few of the ones that I wanted to save as well, as I mentioned earlier, from the ones I started from seed. Our next task is to collect some marigold seeds. So if you've never done that, once the seed heads start to brown down at the base like that, they can start to be ready to pick. And if we kind of poke around in there, there's lots and lots of seeds. The light and the angle isn't great, but there we go, that's better. So I'm going to take that seed head, and I think there's a few more in here in this little section of marigolds that I'm going to take. So there's another nice one here. And the central flowers, the flowers that bloom first, will go to seed first. There's a lot of extra material on top where all the petals are, or those actual flowers. So I'm just going to chuck these in the bag and let them dry down for a while, and hopefully we'll get something from these next year that looks like this. I'm pretty sure they're a hybrid, so we'll see what happens in terms of these coming back looking the same. One other trick I'm going to try to show you one-handed is that if it's dry enough, you can usually just rub all that material off, or kind of grab it and yank it and just be left with mostly the seeds left in there. So if we kind of crack that open, there's a lot of seed in here. Some of it doesn't look viable because doesn't look like it's fully formed, but that's potentially a lot of seed that is good. So, and the ones that are good for clarity are the ones that are black at the tips. So there's quite a few that look like they weren't pollinated, but there's also a good chunk that were, so plenty enough for my purposes. That one's not quite ready yet, so that's still pretty green. You can see the seeds developing in this, like the calyx or whatever this structure is splitting, but those are still too green to harvest, unlike these. Since I'm out here and I have my collection bags and all that, I think I'm going to take a bunch of celosia too, so I'm going to prioritize these nice crested ones that have that almost glowing pink going on. So at the base here you can see these black dots. Those are seeds that have developed, so I'm going to snip that whole head off and dump it in my bag and see how many seeds we can get from each of these. But if I just kind of do one of these, you can see all those little black flecks dropping out are seeds. So they're ready to go, and I can get more than I'll ever use off this little patch right here. So I'm going to try to be kind of selective about what I grab so that whatever I produce next year will be colors and structures that I like, hopefully. And of course, all of this is open to being cross-pollinated by any of these varieties, so it is kind of a gamble to just do this, but these were all saved seeds from a prior year, so I'm pretty happy with all the different shapes and forms and colors I got. So between saved seeds and purchased seeds next year, I hope to have even more diversity in my celosia crop. I'll be coming back to get more celosia seeds. Some of the heads weren't as mature as I thought they would be, and I'll bring a bigger bag next time. While I was collecting celosia seed, I came across these two big, beefy, fan-shaped celosias. So there's a pink one and then a yellow one. These both have that really thick stem situation going on. So as much as I love how wacky and wild these are, I don't think be able to sell them. I could be wrong. So I don't know that I'll save seed off them. I say that now, but there's just, seed falling off in my hand. So I might have a change of heart there. But they've just been making me happy every time I walk past them when I pick, because I wanted to see how big they'd get in part. So I'm going to leave them till the end of the season, which we did have like frost warning for last night and I think for tonight potentially. But it barely got below 40 last night rather. So we'll see what happens tonight. Maybe I'll come out and everything will be toast, but based on last night. Oh, look at all that seed. How could I not save seed? Okay, I'm changing my mind. Obviously immediately, like there's already so much seed just in my hand. Anyway, I wanted to share those because they're just like growing together, little buddies, and makes me happy, and I hope it makes you happy too. The last task was collecting flowers and foliage to dry, so I prioritized looking for statice, straw flowers, some dusty miller, and some other hardy kind of stiff things that I know will hold up based on either things I've done in the past or a little bit of research I've done. I've never really worked with dried flowers before, so this is a new one for me this year. This is what we have so far. A bunch of statice, some of it's already been drying down on the plant. Straw flowers, some of which are probably too far gone and they'll probably go to seed, but we'll see how they do. And then some dusty miller there in the corner. I'm going to go check and see if there's eryngium and maybe echinops, maybe some marigolds, find a few other things to add to this nice little bundle. So here's a bit more of what we ended up with. We got some poppy pods, some of those penstemon seed pods. There's a few echinops down in there. There's a handful of eryngium, mostly the white variety. And then we've got a couple bundles of marigolds back there. So the objective is to try to dry these. I'm going to hang them up in our little polytunnel. It probably would be better if I hung them up not in direct light, but that is the space I have to do this with right now. So that's what we're going to do. And then once they're fully dry, bring them inside and then hopefully get around to experimenting with them a little bit this fall. Just making some little arrangements to see if dried flowers is something I want to spend more time and energy on in the future. And then we've also managed to label the dahlias and collect some seeds, so I'm about done. I am happy with the progress made today, and there's like wasps and bees visiting the flowers still because they're lovely. They're lovely flowers. But that's pretty much what we got going on today. I was thinking that hanging these in here would be more of a problem, but I'm kind of thinking that with the sun at the angle it is this time of year, it actually won't be so bad in terms of color bleaching, especially if I grab these out once they're fully dry. These are all hanging on one bungee cord. It's doing a lot of work there, but they're just all tied in to that one cord in their little bunches, and then they should hang dry for a while. I don't know, maybe a week or so, depending on the temperature. And the way they're secured is with little cotton strings. I've used rubber bands in the past and they get brittle and break really fast. So changed my tactics, and the poppies aren't hanging up because they're fully dry and rigid, so they don't really need that treatment, but we'll see. The rest of the greenhouse is chock full of all the peppers. My roselle plant that may actually bloom, maybe. before it freezes and dies. Massive okra pods, that these are for seed at this stage. They're too fibrous to eat. And then all the hot peppers that are in pots, and some citrus that needs to go in the house soon, that have been brought into this setting so that they don't freeze to death, and hopefully they keep maturing peppers a little bit longer than if they were just still sitting outside. So there's habaneros and lemon starburst, Bolivian rainbow. So this is one that I think I've showed in a video before, where they start out purple and then they kind of age to this bright red, so it looks like a little Christmas tree bauble kind of situation. And then there's all kinds of other creatures down there, like Sugar Rush Cream, Sugar Rush Peach, some other different hot varieties that my husband wanted to try this year. But yeah, anyway, drying flowers, plus lots of other stuff going on in here as usual.